Hello and welcome to today's video. Today we are doing the next installment of my winter makeup series, and today we're talking about mauve.
Mauves? Mauves?
I pronounce it mauves. I've never heard anybody in my day-to-day life say mauve, but I know I've heard that on YouTube before, so hopefully I'm saying it correctly. Either way, I have 5 makeup looks to show you today, so why don't we go ahead and get into it. Okay, as we get started, I apologize if you can hear some drilling. They're working in some apartments nearby, so we're just gonna try to do the best we can. But I also wanted to give a shout out to this lipstick. I talked about this in yesterday's video. I gave a whole dedicated video to cheek products and lip products that were my favorite to pull for in winter. So today's lip is actually the Lipstick Queen. I just love how simple it is, and it just gives a little bit of that mauve-y pink tone to your lips, but it looks really natural and it still looks like you tried, if that makes sense. Before I show you looks, I wanted to mention the Modern Renaissance palette. Obviously, I think that this has a beautiful kind of mauve tone here in Bonfresco, and then Vermeer would also be a good pairing for Bonfresco and have a nice mauve tone look, but I actually didn't use this palette to do a look with because to me, it doesn't really have a ton of mauve tones. Most of the other tones in this palette are more berry or more orange, so I felt like even though it has a shade that technically would lean very mauve, I don't think this qualifies as a mauve palette, so I don't really have any extra palettes to show you. I know in other videos that I do like this, I tend to show other palettes that I could reach for to do these kinds of looks, but today's video will feature pretty much every palette that I have where I can get a full mauve look from it. Now, I don't really know what order to go in, so I'm going to start with this one here. This is the Marvelous Mauves by Dose of Colors. This is an all mauve little 5-pan palette, and I really enjoy this palette. I like the quality of this matte formula from Dose of Colors. They're very soft, they're very pigmented. They're a little bit more like the ABH formula in that way, and soft, pigmented, and they're gonna give you kick up, but I like that formula quite a bit. In the footage that you're gonna see of this look, I didn't really love my entire makeup day. It wasn't the best makeup day for me, so please disregard some of that. But for this look, it was fairly simple. I think I used every shade. I kind of built up my crease with, I believe it was these 2 colors. Outer corner was kind of these 2 colors, mostly this color here. And then on my lid, I did put Fluffy, this really light shade here, but then I topped it with this here ColourPop shadow. This is one of my favorite ColourPop shadows to wear when I wear mauves, and this is the shade Frog. Okay, I'm gonna try to give you a good swatch, but it's not really the best. Now, it's got a bit of a sheer base. It's not the most pigmented base. It's an ultra glitter formula, and so it's got a little bit of a pink tint to it, but also the glitters in it shift pink and they shift blue, which I think is really pretty and complements those kind of mauve cool tones really well. When I last looked at the footage, I did like the look, but I think I laid this on a little thick. I think if I, especially for not wearing lashes, I think if I were gonna redo that look, I would go a little bit darker on my lid. Maybe instead of using Fluffy, I would just kind of put this one here in Rosy all over my lid, and then more sheerly use this rather than lay it on kind of thick like I did. Now, I want to be clear, I did like the look. I just thought I could do better. I'm a little bit of a perfectionist in that way, so that's just kind of my thoughts on that one. Okay, before I move on, I just want to add one more time. I paired these together so many times, and I think that was the first time that I really ever tried Fluffy as a lid shade, and I like it, but I don't love it. Okay, moving into look number 2, I'm gonna talk about my Sigma Enchanted palette. This is my newest palette to my collection. I literally just got it a couple weeks ago. And this, I wanted to include a mauve look because Innocent here pulls so mauve on my eyes. From first impressions with this palette, I was worried that these mattes over here, especially these deeper ones, would be really, really hard to work with. They would be so pigmented. But I am glad to say that they don't go on, when you first apply them, they're not as pigmented as a Dose of Colors or an ABH matte. So you can kind of build them up, and they do build. There are some formulas that I've worked with that do not build well, but this does build up color well. So I used Innocent, like I said, all over the crease. I used Claystone down here in my outer corner, and then on my eye with a glitter glue, I put Budding up here on my lid. And I thought that the look ended up being pretty. It is a little bit more neutral of a mauve tone. It's not as mauve as what you would get in the Dose of Colors mauve palette, but I do like it. There's a swatch of that shade Budding. I do think that these shimmers work best with a glitter glue. That's not my favorite way to always apply shimmers, but to get the glitter and shine from these shimmers, which is what attracted me to this palette, you really do need to apply it over a glitter glue, so I will do that. All right, moving into look number 3, that is coming from my Layla palette from Natasha Denona. This is one of those palettes when I immediately look at it, I can see some of the mauve tones in here, but at the same time, it almost looks like maybe you can't get mauve looks because of how purple it is. Maybe they would pull purple rather than mauve. So for this look, what I did is use this shade here, Per Se, in my crease built up. Then I used Per Se and this shade here. This is the cooler tone, deeper shade in the palette. This is Nude Vino. I kind of mixed Per Se and Nude Vino together and put that on my outer corner. Then I used this shade down here. This is the shade Helio right here, and I put it on my lid. And as I applied that shade, I did like the way it looked, but I wanted it to try to pull just a tad bit more mauve. So what I ended up doing was taking this shade down here. This is Juno, and I ended up really lightly kind of tapping it, not swiping it over that shade, and it kind of did help it lean a little bit more mauve over the top. So that's what I ended up doing for this look. Also, I believe that I did use this shade in my inner corner a little bit, so that's how I ended up turning that like more neutral shade into more of a mauve leaning tone, kind of mixing Juno and this one here. And I really like the way that look came out. And honestly, the mauve like tones from this palette are one of my favorite things about this palette, so I was really happy with that look. Moving into look number 4, I'm talking about my soft Glam palette. I had to include this palette because it's kind of got these like soft rosy mauve tones in it, so I ended up using Dusty Rose in my crease. And then on the outer corner, I can't remember right now if I used Cypress Umber in the outer corner at all, or if I just used Sultry on the outer corner. I'll try to put that on the screen or in the description box if I can find my notes. But I do know that I did use Sultry on the outer corner some. And then Rose Pink was like the main star on my lid. I really liked these tones. I had not worked a ton with those kind of shades in this palette before because I was using this palette a lot during like the summer, and I reached for more warm tones, but I really liked this look that came from this palette, so I wanted to mention this one. Okay, let's talk about the 5th and final look, the one I'm wearing right now. Actually, I will zoom you in just a tad. Okay, don't judge my face makeup too harshly. I was trying a new like concealer combination today, and I do not like it. But either way, we will talk about this. So on my lid, I used this shade up here to set my lid. I really like that shade to set your lid. It actually provides some coverage or like some cancellation of like dark areas on my eyes, which I don't usually find from a lot of cream shadows. And then in my crease, I started with Made to Last. This pulls very mauve on me, even though in the pan it looks kind of like a brownish, like a cool tone brown. It pulls so mauve on my eyes. And then I took the shade Pretty Cruel and I put it all over my eyelid and fluffed it into the crease. Now it is a matte with glitter formula, but I think that those like glitter pieces like flake away. So it ended up looking very matte on my eyes. And honestly, in this palette, this is like one of my favorite shades in the palette. I did not expect to fall in love with that shade, but I really like that one. And this shade down here, Mr. Salmon, which I did not use today, but I could have. But anyways, getting back on track, creased all over my lid and into my crease a little bit. And then on my inner and outer corner, I used another matte with glitter called Too Much down here. And then over the like middle halo pop of my eye, I ended up using the shade Indio, which is this beautiful like, it's a mauve with glitter, but I don't know if you'll be able to see it. It's got some like iridescent pieces of like glitter in it, and then almost like a holographic glitter in it too. And whenever I use these glitters, I honestly just kind of tap them. Today, I usually use a glitter glue. Today, I actually didn't. I just tapped it on my like bare lid. And I'm kind of shocked, but the glitter is staying just fine. Now, because I was going into this look hoping that I could wear just mascara and not like lashes, I tried to keep it a little bit more toned down. And I actually do like the way it looks with just mascara. I really barely ever do that. I usually always wear lashes when I'm wearing some sort of like bold glitter look. But again, I actually really like the way this look came out with that glitter even. Okay, zooming back out, that's everything. I hope you enjoyed these 5 different mauve tone looks. Please, in the comments, let me know what palette do you reach for mauve tones. I'm dying to know. Also, I'm curious if you own the Marvelous Mauves by Dose Colors. Do you like wearing it all as a matte palette? Like, do you do all matte looks with it, or do you like to pair it with a shimmer? If so, what's your go-to shimmer pairing like with this palette? Because I realized in filming today's video that my go-to is this one, and I kind of feel the need to, or like want to like branch out a little bit now, so I'm hoping that y'all can give me some ideas. But anyways, yes, that is it for today. Make sure you say hello, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.